Ladies and gentlemen, in one corner, thanks to all of you who commented, liked, and subscribed to the channel, he is back for another round. Give it up for your boy, the Supreme B-Man! And in the other corner, it claims it's better than its predecessors. It's using DLC practices that has been repeated over and over in years. And now it is trying to reclaim its fan base with recycled, used product stuff. And with ugly face Chun-Li's, it is Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. What is up, homies? What is up, peeps? It is your boy, obviously, after getting announced by the announcer, the Supreme B-Man, and I'm here once again to have a lovely little discussion, or better yet, round 2 of Marvel Infinite. Now, just like the announcer said, I am very humbled and very appreciative of you guys out there commenting me every single day and jumping in and chiming in on all of my videos, whether it be the top 10 Capcom characters, or it be the X-Men characters, or the whole video, my rant video that I did, the first one. I really appreciate your guys' comments and your likes and the subscribes and even the dislikes. It doesn't bother me by no means. I don't expect everybody to agree with my opinion, and I don't expect everybody to continue agreeing with my opinion at no means. If you feel like you really appreciate what Capcom's doing with this game, that's fine. But honestly and truthfully, I don't like it, because this is the same stuff that they are always doing. And with that being said, that's pretty much what we're going to kind of talk about in this video, while also you guys are probably watching some gameplay of some Marvel vs. Capcom in the background or the foreground, whatever. But anyways, pretty much what we're going to talk about is obviously the updated stuff about Marvel Infinite. We're going to continue having that conversation about a lot of the main juice, the main thigh of this this big old turkey that is Marvel Infinite. And what we're going to talk about is mainly the roster, and then we're going to get into a lot of the stuff a lot of people have said over YouTube and pretty much over the internet. And then I'm going to do something really special for you guys that compares to Marvel Infinite and see what your guys' opinion about, and then we'll just wrap things up and finish it off. Hopefully I don't take forever, because I have done this recording like so many times, it's ridiculous. And every single day I am always coming up with something new that I wish that I had said, and it's probably going to happen probably sometime tomorrow. By the time that this video is actually uploaded, I'm probably going to be upset with myself that I didn't get to say that, or I said something that I probably shouldn't have said. And usually that's what happens, or I end up pronouncing a character's name wrong, which a lot of you guys tend to point out. And again, I apologize, I'm sorry, but I know sometimes I don't, my vocabulary is not super extensive as some people's are, but I try. At least I give it that TRY, try, stamp of approval. So, but anyways, guys, let's just move on to the first topic, which is the graphics of the game. And let's be real with you. The game doesn't look 100% bad. It's not like it's just a god-awful looking game. But for the simple fact that they're trying to play this game off as if it's like top movie quality, I think Capcom needs to look at its competitors, like Injustice 2, which actually has that movie quality that this game oh so desperately really needs. You can't lie, the character models in Injustice 2 look authentic, they look unique, and plus the face recognition that they're using looks great. I mean, obviously they're kind of coming off from the Mortal Kombat X side of things, which is understandable because that's kind of their base. in some ways or another, which, you know, this game also tries to use the same kind of models from Marvel 3, which is completely fine. I understand reusing certain materials and certain assets to kind of help you off make your game. But at the same time, you would think that this, you know, recycling in some good way. There's good recycling and there's bad recycling, and we'll get to that. But the recycling of 3D models, which I know it's very hard to do. I have tried to do my own set of 3D models, and it's not easy. Let me just say that. Doing 3D modeling, in my opinion, is a little bit harder than, say, doing traditional art. And as a guy who is an artist, if I haven't like pointed that out, it just is. For me, it is. Some people, they can do it off the fly. They can easily pick up a tablet and just go to town and start making 3D models right off the, you know, right off their brains. And that's not something I can do. I can draw stuff off my brain rather than doing 3D art. But maybe one day. But I will say that it is very hard and it's very extensive and kind of repetitive a lot to do those 3D character models. But my problem that I'm having with is that a lot of the, you know, final product or what some of the characters look like, such as Dante and Morgan and Chun-Li, even to Captain America's weird action figure poses, and that there's a lot of not real emotion with a lot of characters. Like, for example, the Incredible Hulk kind of has this, he's always grinning, always looking mad, like, Hulk, man. And I get that. I understand. A Hulk is always mad. He's an upset, big green, jolly green giant. Not very jolly, though. He's more of a giant than he is jolly. But, you know, he's always grinning his teeth. And I don't know if it's in every single scene, but every scene that you do see him, he's not like, he's actually like speaking. Like, if you take Thor Ragnarok, for example, and Thor Ragnarok, the Hulk isn't always like grinning. He's actually showing emotion. And that's what I mean. Like, a lot of the characters just look kind of dead-faced. They don't show like they're upset or they're, you know, second thinking about something. They just look like they're just staring into a camera, pretty much. And it doesn't look like they really, you know, Capcom really took the time to really animate those emotions and whatnot. You know what I mean? It'd be nice if they showed off that, you know, maybe Gamora is upset that the guys, all the team is coming to her to help out with releasing Thanos, even though Gamora clearly has like this obsession to kill him. And, you know, it would be nice to have seen her face expression of her feeling upset, or she feels kind of like this is going to, you know, bite us in the butt later on and we shouldn't do this. You know, some stuff like that I would kind of hope that would happen, which, yet again, if I go back to Injustice, at least you can kind of see the emotions of those characters. You see those 3D models showing off a lot of, you know, like emotion. And I mean, I don't know any other word to it. You know, if you see Superman upset that he got locked up in his jail cell. You see Batman constantly second guessing himself on his decision making, and, you know, on whether he's doing the right thing or not. You can see how Harley Quinn is having fun just beating the crap out of people, and then switching over to like, oh, why did you hurt? Why did I do that? And stuff like that. You can actually see a lot of emotion in those 3D character models. And, you know, you can say, you know, maybe it's not, they didn't have enough money, maybe they didn't have enough time, but this game was announced last year. Let's just, you know, let's admit, this game was announced last year. And Injustice, I think Injustice 2 came out around last year or this year, earlier this year. And so, actually, yes, it came out earlier this year. And the game was pretty much ready, set, and done. You know what I mean? They announced it like in 2016, and then from then on it was on to the races, and pretty much they had the game pretty much finished by the time it got to the beginning of 2017 somewhat, and then they finished things up, and then it came out this summer, and it's been nothing but a smash hit. And that is what Marvel Infinite has to live up to, and it has to stride itself to get to at some point in time. But will it get there because of these graphical problems? And I will state that one thing I will say is that I know that there is a one-day DLC patch, and there's a video that I will put a link in the description. I will talk about a lot of other YouTube videos that I've watched that kind of state their claim, and I can see on my side, you know, they're right, you know what I mean? And I'm not the only one that is stating this stuff. They're also stating it too. So, but the one thing I will say that kind of upsets me is that Chun-Li, for example, the first lady of fighting games, has seriously become nothing more than a meme nowadays. And it's not just Chun-Li, it's also Dante and Morgan on the Capcom side, which it doesn't make any sense. Like, Capcom is known for making beautiful character models and stuff. Like Street Fighter V, like, you look at Street Fighter V, for all intents and purposes, on whether you like that game or you hate that game, whatever, you can't admit that that game doesn't look colorful. The character models don't look great. I mean, sure, their anatomy is kind of a little, you know, way out there, you know what I mean? Like, Ryu's got like a 8-pack or something like that. And, but on some of those things, you kind of expect that if you haven't already known about Street Fighter. They kind of have those type of crazy anatomy parts and stuff like that, and they can do that because this world that they live in isn't 100% realistic, you know what I mean? There's one point where Zangief is able to like block a bullet with his ultra-sized muscles and stuff like that, and you're like, no way. But it is what it is, and I love the terror of the Russian skies, you know what I mean? Zangief's my boy. But anyways, but it makes no sense on why Chun-Li has an ugly face when you look at Chun-Li in like Street Fighter V or even in Street Fighter 4. You know what I mean? Chun-Li has always looked like one of the most beautiful characters of all time. Like, anytime that Chun-Li get like a new costume, people go freaking crazy over it. And in my opinion, you know, she's kind of wifey food material, you know what I mean? So I love Chun-Li, and I've always loved my Thunder Thighs. And I was very, very disappointed in Capcom for not trying to make this girl pop. And the same thing goes for like Dante. Dante should never look like that. In Marvel 3, he looked a whole lot better. I don't know what happened, why they went to a completely different art direction like that. Maybe it's because of Marvel. Maybe it's because Marvel is the one that was like, we want it to be like a movie. We wanted to kind of play off the cinematic universe. But at the same time, it was Capcom's doing into trying to hit that movie quality mark. And if that was the case, then they should have gone ahead and, you know, did what they needed to do. You know what I mean? So I don't know who to blame for that, but honestly, Chun-Li should not look like that. Dante shouldn't look like that, and Morgan shouldn't look like that. I mean, maybe things are looking a little bit better. Maybe this day one patch that, you know, Capcom has stated about will fix everything, or maybe it will only make things worse, or it probably won't do that much of a graphical difference at the end of the day. I don't know. Maybe it's the fans that are constantly complaining about these graphical problems, or it's just Capcom being lazy about it and just, you know, trying to put the pacifier in everybody's mouths to calm everybody down, and that they pretty much know what they're doing. When, you know, hindsight, they really don't know what they're doing in some cases, and they're just trying to rush this fighting game out there to the public in hopes that it will sell. And it probably will at the end of the day. But moving along from the character models and the art style and all that other stuff, we're going to move on to the roster, and that is probably the biggest thing that everybody has stated about this game. Everybody has talked about the character roster. Everybody has said that there are characters missing from Marvel 3. There's characters that need to be put back into this game that didn't show up, that was last seen in like Marvel 2. There's just so many characters from the Marvel side and the Capcom side. There's a lack of female talent in the roster as well, and just not a lot of new faces. A lot of recycled old faces that, you know, honestly doesn't need to be in here. I will state, it is truthful, and I'm not even going to lie to you. I don't see any real reason why, say, a character like Arthur from Ghosts and Goblins should be in here, in my opinion. I don't really know. Honestly, I remember playing Ghosts and Goblins a long time ago on, like, what, the Nintendo or the Super Nintendo or something like that, and that was like the last time that I know of that I played that game. So there's no real reason for Arthur to be in this game at all. If there's going to be like a reboot version of Ghosts and Goblins coming out somewhere down the pipeline, if that's your excuse on why Arthur is in this game, I don't know. When I saw him in the story trailer of the game, I was literally like, how is Arthur going to compare himself or even stand up to Thor or talk complete garbage to Thor? And like, get out of here, shrimp. Go on somewhere. Gimli from Lord of the Rings is a way better freaking dwarf than you are. Get the heck out of here, dude. But anyways, not just Arthur, but also Chris Redfield. I understand Chris Redfield was the first operative in the whole outbreak in Resident Evil. A lot of you guys pointed that out, and I appreciate that. And plus, I kind of looked it up and was like, oh God, I made a mistake. But you guys were able to let me know that I made a grave error, and luckily I realized that and noticed it. But I will say that this is a new game. This is a new installment to the franchise, and if this is like some kind of big old reboot for the series, then this would have been the grand slam time to bring in new fresh faces. I mean, I don't get that. And there are so many games from Capcom's library that they can easily pull out of. There was one particular person that told me that not too many people will recognize these characters. I don't know how that's possible when there's so many people constantly referencing these characters, like from Power Stone, from Devil May Cry, from Rival Schools, Darkstalkers. There are a lot of characters that people remember from, whether they're fan favorites or they're just characters that people just want to see in the game. It doesn't matter. They want them, you know what I mean? And it's clear as day that there's so many people out there that are making videos about it and constantly stating the obvious, that there's not a lot of new stuff in this game, and there's probably not going to be a lot of new modes in here. There's probably going to be an arcade mode. There's going to be, hold on, let's go back and look at, say, Marvel 3's options, you know, mode options. There's going to be an offline mode. It's going to have an arcade mode. It's going to have a versus mode. It may have a survival mode. And then after that, that's it. And then the online features are probably going to be the same stuff you saw in Marvel 3. It's probably going to have a leaderboard. It's probably going to have single matches. It's probably going to have this and have that. And then you're probably going to have a gallery. You're going to have options. And then you're probably going to have a Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite store. And then that's about it. There's not really going to be a whole lot else. There's not going to be a lot of meat and potatoes with this freaking plate that you're going to get out of Marvel Infinite. I'm just, you know, that's pretty much the way things are and the way things have been. And honestly, truthfully, I kind of miss the old days of being able to just, you know, either purchase characters in-game with in-game currency, or playing through the game and unlocking the characters and stuff like that, which that's about the DLC stuff. Characters like Black Panther and Sigma, who are obviously in the game. Sigma is the freaking villain of the game, and yet he is DLC, playable DLC. So you mean either I have the season pass or I gotta buy this character? Because as far as I know of, I don't hear any free DLC, and that's what it should be, Capcom. It should not be paid to play DLC. It should be, he is already in the game, he is in the story mode, and he's the main freaking villain. Are you serious, guys? Really? That's what you're trying to do? You're trying to, you know, take my extra few dollars out of my pocket when I should already be able to play that character? No, that's just bad DLC practicing. And that's something else that, you know, Capcom is known for doing. And whether it was Marvel's decision to do something like that, that is a Capcom character. That's not a Marvel character. That was Capcom's doing. And the same thing can be said about Black Panther. That also, in some ways, it's Capcom's strategy of making whatever extra little dollars that they can with this character. And obviously, it's kind of forcing people to get that season pass in order to get that character, to get Sigma, and probably any future characters that might come out for the game without having to pay for them individually, which might bite you in the butt anyways. So buying a $60 game and paying for like what, $5 characters each, depending on how many characters might show up in this game, you're probably going to be spending more than just $60 at the end of the day. You might reach to the $200 collector's edition before it's all said and done, or you might even just hit $100. We don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But depending on what version of the game that you purchase or pre-order will depend on how much money you will be spending at the end of the day, or what you could have been spending if you hadn't bought the season pass. But let's move on back to the roster itself. Other than just straight up DLC practices that Capcom is known for, that is really annoying, and a lot of people are getting tired of, because they've done this stuff, guys. They've done this stuff before. Don't let them fool you. Don't forget a lot of the games that they have blatantly done DLC for, and literally they ran off and took your money. I don't care what a lot of people say. Some people say that Capcom was struggling and all this other stuff, but what about Marvel 3? What about vanilla Marvel 3? Yes, it was a broken game. Yes, it was fun in some aspects because of the fact that there were a lot of broken characters, but then Capcom didn't even want to fix that game. So guess what they did? They let you buy that $60 game. They let you buy the 2 DLC characters in Jill Valentine and Shuma Gorath, and then they came out with Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom with the same stuff, with added 11 characters, and knocked the price down $20, making it only $40, and then it had all the DLC characters in it and everything. So you had already bought the $60 version of that game and then went off to go buy the $40 version, and then you get 11 characters, and you get all the DLC stuff, but you still have to pay for all the other separate DLC stuff, where it be costumes or whatever. So, and they just dropped that game out of nowhere. And I was one of those people who bought the vanilla Marvel and then went around and bought the Ultimate, knowing that I ended up spending $100 overall, and I didn't buy any of the extra DLC stuff. That was just out of the question, unless you had one of those Xbox or PSN cards that already had money on it or whatever. But at the end of the day, you realize that you spent pretty much $100 on a fighting game. And that's not right. And so I kind of feel like that's what they're going to end up doing with this game. A lot of people are already speculating there might be an Ultimate Marvel Infinite at the end of it all if this game doesn't do well, or if there's a lot of problems that Capcom just doesn't want to fix. But it is what it is. But we're talking about Capcom a lot. What about Marvel? What about Marvel's side of the coin? Marvel is another one. Marvel is just another company that knows how to twist people's knobs, and makes people want to be like, come on, man, come on, really, Marvel? That's what you're going to do? The character roster on the Marvel side looks good. It looks strong. I mean, I'm fine with it. I guess it's okay that they brought back the Avengers. I mean, it's not like they wasn't going to bring back the Avengers. It worked for them the first time, so why not it not work for them this time? But like I said, with the graphical problems and stuff like that, and a lot of things that they could have fixed here and there, I mean, still, it's still, one of those things that you have to deal with. But we're not talking about graphic stuff. We're talking about roster. And the thing is that Marvel told Capcom that, hey, you can only use the movie characters. Only the movie characters. Meaning you only get the Avengers, you only get Captain America characters, Iron Man characters, Hulk, you get Thor, and so forth, Black Panther and Captain Marvel, you only get those types of movies that you're going to be able to use. Even Spider-Man to an extent, because Marvel and Sony kind of worked out a deal to where they have the rights to use the Spider-Man character, so therefore the Spider-Man character is in this game. And I'm pretty sure if Marvel did not win or didn't get Spider-Man or didn't get to do Spider-Man Homecoming, I will be honest with you, we probably would not see Spider-Man in this game, which would easily, had turned off a lot of people, because there are a lot of people who like using Spider-Man on their team. I'm one of them. I always love doing web sling, web bolt, web shot, and always love using maximum spider. A lot of people like to have Spider-Man on their team. I'm one of those guys. I always test them out in almost every iteration of Marvel vs. Capcom at one point or another. But if it's just the movie characters, then why not go above and beyond? How come there's no Black Widow? How come there's no Hela? There's no Valkyrie? There's none of those other female characters. And that's something else on the Capcom side that I will state, that they both have a roster of female talent here. I mean, going to DC Comics again, Wonder Woman just came out with a movie, and honestly, that inspired a lot of people, a lot of females out there, a lot of strong female characters to come out and about, which is why you're starting to see a lot of, young to much older female talent out there in a lot of media nowadays, whether it be the comics, movies, or whatever. You're kind of starting to see that, and I would figure that Marvel or Capcom would be the ones to kind of lead the charge in some way in this game, to be like, we got beautiful female talent on our side, we can use it whenever we want to, which doesn't make a lot of sense. And don't tell me that Marvel doesn't have a lot of females, because I've been seeing the movies for like forever now. There's Scarlet Witch, Black Widow. There's Hela that just got announced for Thor Ragnarok, which would have been a great time to have her in the game, because of the fact that the Thor movie's coming out in November. And then there's Valkyrie, which is another character that a lot of people could have played with. That's 4 females right now. There's plenty of others, but let's be honest, let's be real. That's 4. Already added to Gamora and Captain Marvel. That would have been 6 females that Capcom could have used to put into this game. I mean, Marvel obviously told them, hey, you can use movie characters, and that's it. Which moves on to the other thing about the X-Men. I understand, and I've always known, and I've always had this conversation with a lot of my friends, that the X-Men are just not going to be part of anything that Marvel is doing right now, because I've always had this dream that one day we will get, Avengers versus X-Men, that one comic book line that I thought was actually pretty good, where the X-Men and the Avengers go head to head with each other, and that they have their own set agendas. The Avengers are trying to invade the X-Men, and it's all about, I think, another Phoenix-like character in Hope Summers and stuff like that. And, that's where Cyclops... Hey, and also I will point out that a lot of people tend to want Cyclops in my top 10 list. This comic right here this comic book line right here was one of the reasons why, because Cyclops was kind of being a douchebag. And somebody commented on that, on my video about the top 10 list of X-Men, that Cyclops is kind of douchey, and he's been kind of douchey. And yeah, that is true. I'm not even gonna lie, he was kind of a douchebag. He was kind of a jerk in that line, and he's kind of always has been in some ways or another, when he started getting power over the X-Men and stuff and leading the charge, which I completely understand in some ways why he did that, but in other ways I'm just like, why, Scott? Why? But it might have been at the fact that he didn't have Jean Grey by his side at that time. But it is what it is. But the fact that there's no X-Men in this game. The X-Men have always been there in the Marvel franchise. The X-Men has always been part of the Marvel vs. Capcom series. And now they've gotten to a point to where they just don't want to have them in there, just for the simple fact that Marvel can't make movies out of these characters. And that's really, really sad and very disappointing to a lot of X-Men fans. Some people don't like the X-Men, but there's a huge wave of people that really honestly do. And so I would do whatever it would take to try to get the X-Men in this game. And you guys probably would too, if it's possible, maybe sometime down the line. Or at least if I was getting interviewed, unlike some people who got interviewed, like the GameStop interview, I probably wouldn't have mentioned that the fact that we can put the X-Men in the game, but we just can't do it right now. You know what I mean? Maybe if I was allowed to say that, I would. Otherwise, I would never have that, say that answer that guy said in that interview, kind of comparing Nova to Magneto and trying to say that, they're pretty much the same character, when really, come on now. Nova and Magneto are not the same. Gamora and Deadpool are not the same. Black Panther and Wolverine are not the same. They are completely different characters. And that's just the point. It's because of the characters themselves. You can't replace the X-Men with other Marvel characters that clearly aren't the X-Men. Logan is a crazy berserker barrage type mutant character that a lot of people love. He's really fast, he's really quick, he has the adamantium claws and the self-healing. He has a lot of catchphrases. Deadpool's a fourth wall breaking, gunslinging mutant himself, similar to Wolverine. The only difference is he uses katana, which is, I can't believe it's not butter, and I forgot the other one's name. It's really funny, but that's just the point. Deadpool's hilarious, and Magneto is a very powerful mutant that can bend metal. He's like the very first metal bender. If we're going by Avatar's state of mind, he's like the very first metal bender in the completely known universe and out through media. He can bend metal, he can make force fields, he can use like these temporal shock waves and stuff like that. He can do a lot of stuff, and that's nothing that Nova, Gamora, or Black Panther can do. They're completely different characters, and that the fact that Marvel, or even Capcom in some ways, is blatantly trying to put a different coat of paint on them by plastering another character's face onto those characters and trying to say, oh, well, don't think about Magneto, look at Nova. Don't think about Wolverine, look at Black Panther, and so forth and so on. You know what I mean? And that's just sad, Maybe at some point down the road we might get the X-Men, and at some point in time maybe they will, Marvel will bow down to the almighty dollar. Either Marvel or Capcom, they might be like, we need the X-Men desperately. You need to make a phone call, contact Fox and ask them, can you use them? Even though that Marvel can do it. Marvel can put these characters in this game. A lot of people pointed out that they can't make movies out of them. Movies. Remember what you guys are saying. They can't make movies out of them, but they can put them in this game. They still make comic books, they still make toys, and they still can make video games about the X-Men. They can input them in their already existing Marvel video games if they wanted to, no matter what Marvel video game there is, whether it be that Contest of Champions game or a Lego Marvel game. They could put the X-Men in there if they really truly wanted to, even if it may be giving Fox a little extra chump change to do it. If that's the case, I don't know what the contract was. I don't know what the contract was about, or anything like that. I don't know what was in there, but at some point in time you can put the X-Men in there. And the same thing goes with the Fantastic Four. Okay, a lot of people are huge fans of Doctor Doom. A lot of people want to see a foot dive. A lot of people want to see Susan Storm, or maybe Johnny Storm, or even Reed Richards in this game. Or heck, Super Skrull. Why not have Super Skrull? That's pretty much all of the Fantastic Four, all in a nutshell. And considering the fact that I hear that Captain Marvel in her movie, apparently she's going to be fighting the Skrull, the Kree, and so forth and so on. So if Marvel somehow got the rights to use the Skrull, or even say the Fantastic Four, considering the way Fox used them and how that movie tanked, that means Marvel may have the rights to the Fantastic Four, and we just don't know it yet. So we'll just have to wait and see as the years go by, in hopes that maybe the family that always stays together will come back at some point in time. But this would have been a great time to have those types of characters in here. So, you know, no new Capcom characters, no new Marvel characters, not too many new Capcom or Marvel characters in this game. And it's kind of really disappointing. If it was up to me, I would have half and half, or so forth and so on, of characters that would have worked, half of returning characters and the rest of them being all new characters for people to play around with. And that's just my honest opinion about it. I feel like, you know, Capcom's holding back and not going outside the box, regardless of whether those characters are popular or not. They could have easily had a poll, maybe ask their, you know, community on what characters that they would like to see and stuff like that. Get involved like NetherRealm Studios is doing right now with Injustice. I mean, Ed Boon likes to troll people, likes to tease at people, and people like to, you know, speculate and guess on what characters and stuff that Ed Boon is trying to work on. And the same thing goes with the female characters. I would have loved to have seen an all-star female cast, or at least, and you know, there should be more trailers to this game. Way more trailers than what we've been getting. A lot of promotional stuff. I understand that cost a lot of money. I understand that Capcom may not have a lot of money to use. But if you're going to make this game, and if you're going to do this game, you got to do this game right. And you got to go balls to the wall, son. You got to like show them that we are still Capcom, that we are still holding it down. We are still strong. We know what we're doing, and we know how to do it. And we're sorry if we have doubted you guys and we have disappointed you guys with a lot of the DLC practices and a lot of unnecessary stuff that has happened. And we promise you we will not allow that to happen again. We will continue the Marvel legacy. It is not dead. And if you know, they have stated something like that. And if that's the case, then prove it. You know what I mean? Prove it, Capcom. You know what I mean? I'm not expecting Marvel to prove anything, because Marvel's done whatever it is that they did. They pretty much gave Capcom the right to use those characters in the game, even though they had some parameters. They made rules. Don't use the X-Men. Only use movie characters, and so forth and so on. But that's also up to Capcom to do what they need to do to make it work, you know what I mean, overall, to mix it in with their characters. So that's just the case at the end of the day, you know what I mean. Like, honestly, this, you know, it just comes down to, you know, whoever's running the show and whoever is the puppet or the puppeteer, they both have to somehow coexist with one another and somehow make it all work, so everybody will say that was actually pretty good, you know what I mean, at the end of it all. The next topic, I know I spent a lot of time talking and rambling about the roster. There's a lot more to talk about. I hope you guys continue the conversation in the comments below about the roster and even the graphic stuff, but we need to move along. I don't want this video to go on forever. But my thing is, there's a lot of YouTubers out there like Maximilian, which a lot of you guys, if you are within the FGC or within the fighting game community, you guys should know about. Or if you don't know about them, there'll be a link in the description. And like I said, there will be the other links to other videos that I've watched that kind of point out what I'm trying to say, and they might do it in a short compressed video, rather than, you know, speaking over about 40 minutes. You know what I mean? So, anyways, let's move along. And Maximilian made a video. He stated that he was going to buy the game regardless. He's happy that the fact that Strider and Mega Man X made it into the game, but that's pretty much the only thing that he said. I mean, well, not the only thing. He's obviously buying it for just Strider, Mega Man X, and a bunch of functions and gimmicks that he think that are very, very interesting in the game. If we're just going to buy this game for maybe one or two characters or even a little simple little gimmick, that's pretty much just handing money to Capcom at the end of it all. I honestly don't want just 2 characters. I don't want functions. I don't want gimmicks. I just want a good, fun fighting game. And this game should have been the Smash Brothers game that is Marvel vs. Capcom. You know what I mean? That's what it should have been. But he also talked about that, and he obviously pointed out the same problems that I'm even talking about in this video, the graphics and the roster, and he's even stated that. And he tends to be the one guy that a lot of people go to about fighting game news and whatnot. And he's very truthful about his opinion. And, I'm not putting anything in his mouth that he didn't say. You can go to the link and you can watch that video, but, I understand where he's coming from. I can see why he's going to buy the game, but at the same time, I just feel like that's kind of a waste, Max. You shouldn't have to just, buy the game because of 2 characters and just hope to mess around with it. But he made a point when he said he loves playing games, and I have nothing against that. Nothing against that. If he was to personally tell me that, I would be like, well, I got nothing else. I can't rebuttal that. And that's just the point. If you guys want to buy this game, and mainly because you just love fighting games, or if you just love playing video games, period, or if you're kind of new to the franchise and you kind of want to jump into it, that's fine. That's okay. But a lot of us veterans or people who have gone through the motion of Marvel vs. Capcom and played many of Capcom's fighting games and have either been cheated out of money or been played around with the DLC stuff, then I understand your side of the coin as well. And I've been one who has gone through that, who has lived up to the highest point, to the hype, and then end up falling and crashing down to the bottom where pretty much the game was dead. You know what I mean? And that's, it hurts and it sucks after spending so much money and so much time on a fighting game that literally doesn't have a lot of life to it. You know what I mean? So, but Max makes a point, and obviously if you guys feel the same way, I have no disrespect in any type of way. If that's the way it is, that's you. I'm not here to force you to not buy this game. I'm just stating my side of the conversation about the game overall and how I feel about it. So and it's not just Max. There's also Woolly Versus. There's also Foamy the Squirrel, the animated squirrel that maybe not too many people know about. If you do know Foamy the Squirrel, he's a very vulgar type of animated squirrel on YouTube, and there's a lot of explicit stuff that go on with a lot of his videos, but there's one particular video that he talks about video games, and he points it out about all the DLC crap, the day 1 patches and all that stuff, and how unnecessary it is, because that's just the way games are nowadays, is that everybody's doing microtransactions and DLC and stuff like that to try to make an extra buck or whatever. I understand when gaming companies are doing that, but I feel like it's just unnecessary. Either give me a full $60 game, or I'm not gonna buy it. You know what I mean? At the end of it all, if you have to go through making patches and patches and patches, and slapping DLC everywhere on the game, then that game is not worth your money. And is this game gonna go through that same motion? I don't know. Right now there are 2 characters that are already in the game, and they're blatantly being slapped on a paywall in order for you to get them. So, that's one good example right there. But, whatever reason why Capcom's doing that, they could state why, but they're probably not going to. It's probably a business decision that a lot of us customers don't need to know about. At least they think we don't need to know about. So I'll just leave it at that. But there's a lot of other YouTubers out there. There's a lot of people with their own opinions about it that I've watched, and they all stated their claim and said what they had to say. And like I said, those videos are in the description if you want to check them out. Some of them are really cool to subscribe to. Some of them, it's just they made a rant video about the game. But these are mainly YouTubers I'm subscribed to, and they have their reasons, you know what I mean, for what they say. So moving along, we're gonna go on to like the comments, the comment sections. Either it's attackers or defenders. I just think everybody's just kind of stating their claim and making their opinions about the game. Whether you may think they're being stupid about defending this game, or whether there's too much hate on this game and there's no reason to hate on Capcom when it's Marvel that's kind of pushing them into doing this, or if it's Capcom, just begging Marvel or whatever it may be, whoever's pulling the strings. At the end of the day, it should be a team and not just one-sided. I'm not just going to blame Capcom for this. I'm not just going to blame Marvel for it. I'm blaming both of them. They're both working together. It's like with NetherRealm Studios, and I tend to keep pointing that out. It's like NetherRealm Studios, DC Comics / Warner Brothers. It's the same thing. You know what I mean? I'm not just going to blame NetherRealm Studios or DC Comics or NetherRealm Studios for not giving me what I asked for. You know what I mean? I'm going to blame both of them. You know what I mean? Both the creator and the guy, pointing directions to the creator to make that happen. You know what I mean? The art director or whatever. So it's the same difference. So it's up to, I don't think anybody's an attacker, attacking the game. I just think people are just stating their opinions about the game. And I just think people are just, saying what's on their mind and what they think about the game overall. And people that are defending it, I mean, they have the right to do whatever. I don't have any problems. Honestly, I didn't have any problem with you guys stating your claims and, defending Capcom or defending Marvel / Disney or any of the two, or defending the game, period. You know what I mean? I have no problem with that, like I said. So you guys have every right to state your claim and say what you got to say and how you want to say it. So now we're going to try to move things along and try to, kind of get this done. And I wanted to get you guys' opinion about my version of Marvel Infinite. My version of Marvel Infinite will include new and old characters, and it will have actual DLC that you guys would be interested in. I see how NetherRealm is doing their DLC stuff, and I think it's a very good, smart business tactic. But if I want to up the ante, and if I'm going up against a gaming company like that, because I know I keep pointing out Injustice 2, but that's what we're looking at. That's our opponent in any shape or form. I know there's Dragon Ball Fighter Z, but that game hasn't came out yet. That's next year. That's next year's problem. You know what I mean? I know Guilty Gear's out there. I know Tekken 7's out there. I know that those games are out there too. But we're looking at the guy at the very tippity top, and that is Injustice 2 right now at the moment. And so, Injustice 2, they have their characters. They're constantly giving what the people want. They're doing balancing updates just out of the norm, even though they don't really have to do that. They're going above and beyond to make sure that everybody is getting a top quality game and enjoying it. And that's what we need to do. We need to service our customers, service our fans, service the gamers, and give them the respective game that they so rightly deserve. We have been through this 7 times at the most since Children of the Atom, Marvel Superheroes, Marvel vs. Capcom 1 and 2, and Ultimate, and I think I'm missing one. I'm pretty sure it was Street Fighter vs. X-Men. That's another one I missed. And now we're going with Marvel Infinite. And so I want to give everybody what they want. And so we got some Capcom titles that we can use. There's Marvel movies that we can use. But I was able to somehow come up with my own roster. So the first base roster to this game is going to start with, on the Marvel side, Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Hulk, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, and Nova. That is the Avengers. That's Doctor Strange. There's Spider-Man. There's Nova. Those are characters that came from Marvel 3. Now, we're going to move on to newer characters. We got Black Widow instead of Hawkeye. We got Scarlet Witch, which I think needed to be in this game. Captain Marvel, which was in the trailer for this game. Gamora, Thanos, and Ultron. We're still going to do the Ultron Sigma thing if that's the way they want to do it. On the Capcom side, we would do Ryu, Chun-Li, a beautiful looking Chun-Li, Morgan, a beautiful looking Morgan, Dante, a handsome Dante, obviously. We would make those character models look good, okay? We're going to make them pop, son. And Zero, Nemesis. Those are the returning characters on the Capcom side. And now we're going to move on to the newer characters. Mega Man X, who was featured in the very first trailer. Leon Kennedy instead of Chris Redfield. Monster Hunter. Jada from Darkstalkers. Jury from the Street Fighter V. And then we would have Sigma. Either you would want Jury or some Street Fighter character. You can insert whatever character for that slot. I just really like Jury because she's like my crazy girlfriend that I will never like run away from because I fear that she might kill me. But at the same time, she treats me well, you know, at the end of the day. And she protects me from anybody else, you know, because Jury's bad. She's not only hot, but she's like, you know, wicked bad, and I kind of like that. But anyways, day one DLC. If Black Panther's going to be in the game, or if he's mentioned in the game, then I think he should be day one DLC in some cases, but he would be free if he's going to be in the game. The same will be for Ashura from Ashura's Wrath. But, you know, if they're not in the game, then obviously they would be behind a paywall. I would be like, guys, these characters are not in the game in any way, shape, or form. There might be mentioning of Black Panther, but there won't be any showing of Black Panther, and we might show off a trailer of Black Panther and Ashura going head-to-head with one another. So, or they might be on the same team, however you want to see it. The next thing would be the season characters. You know how every fighting game nowadays has like season 1, season 2, and season 3. This is where we get into that. Season 2 characters for the Marvel side: Vision, Groot / Rocket, which should have been in the game anyway, because I would rather play as Groot over Rocket anyways, in my opinion, and I think a lot of people would love to play as Groot. Plus, if you can play as maybe baby Groot or even mid-age Groot, and then full adult Groot, which would be pretty cool. Venom from the Spider-Man series. There's a huge fan base of Venom out there, and a lot of people love Venom. We're gonna give you Venom. And then there's Loki. Loki from, you know, the Thor Ragnarok and all the Thor movies and stuff. He would be pretty cool to have. Plus, we would probably have an alternate costume where he can turn into female Loki and stuff like that. So you can have fun with that if you want to, ladies and gentlemen. And then on the Capcom side, there's Taliban from Darkstalkers, Jill Valentine from Resident Evil, Laura from Street Fighter V, Lady from Devil May Cry. And then season 3 will have Winter Soldier, Ant-Man / Giant Man, Valkyrie, and Hela from the Thor movies. And then we move over to the Capcom side: Dr. Wily from Mega Man, Captain Commando from the said title, and from Marvel 2, and Tiffany Lords from Rival Schools, because she was seen in the background on the beach level in Street Fighter V. I know that was her. I recognize those locks anywhere. And Virgil from Devil May Cry. I think there are some people who really deserve more Devil May Cry characters, and this is the time to bring back an old returning character, but he would be brand new. I wouldn't be giving you Virgil if I didn't have a plan to make Virgil a little bit different and give him a whole new look or whatever it may be. And then I would come out with a contest on the social media, a contest of 3, which, you know, which means basically, you know, somehow I was able to talk Marvel into letting me use the X-Men and so forth and so on. And so we got, you know, Wolverine, Deadpool, Doctor Doom, Susan Storm, Psylocke, and Emma Frost, Cyclops, and Juggernaut. And then for the Capcom side, we got Akuma, Edward Falcon, Dmitry Maximoff, Armika, Nylin from Remember Me, Hayato, and Jin Sultimo from Marvel 2. And I would have you guys pick 3 characters out of both lists and those characters would be put into the game, obviously equaling out to the game's roster to 50 at the most. I didn't want to do 50. I really honestly didn't want to do 50, but doing the whole X-Men thing would be like a tribute to you guys for so much support of the game, and that's what it just boils down to, is support and a lot of, you know, just loving the game and enjoying it, and me basically doing my best to give you guys what you deserve. And I hope that that particular list of characters would interest you into my version of Marvel Infinite. So this video's going on long enough. So guys, in the comments below, let me know if you would buy my version of Marvel Infinite. If there's any characters that you want to alter, or if you want to make your own version of Marvel Infinite, please put it in the comments below, because I would love to be interested in it. Tell me if you would change the story or change certain characters here and there, and what's your strategy, what's your marketing strategy behind it, because I want to do trailers, character teasers, and all this other stuff, which would be fun. But if I have to follow certain rules by Marvel, or, you know, rules by Capcom, then I have to. But if I can go outside the box and have a little fun with it, then I would. And how would you guys do that? And do you guys agree with some of the stuff that I talked about? And if not, or if so, please put it in the comments below. Also, drop me a like. It helps out the channel for me. And also subscribe for more videos just like this one. And share it with friends. Try to get the word out to people, and try to let people know, and let even Capcom know, this is what we're thinking about when we see Marvel Infinite. So, as always, guys, have fun in the comment section. Continue playing your fighting games, and have fun out there. Keep the quarters up, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.